Okay, so episode 10 of Hero Aca Season 5 just came out, and I figured it might be a fun. I figured it might be a fun idea to sort of give some updated thoughts on the show so far, and also kind of respond to what seemed to be the most popular sentiment from the Hero Aca is too popular for its own good video. And I'd say that first of all, a lot of people were saying that it's not filler because like the first half of this season isn't filler because it was in the manga. That's not what I meant when I said filler. Obviously, I don't read manga, and I think it was really clear that I don't read manga from that video. But I guess I don't know how popular of a sentiment it is that like filler means when the anime adds something that wasn't in the manga specifically for the purposes of like padding out time. When I say filler, I just mean like content that feels like filler. I don't know what word to describe it because that's just always what I've used for it. Is like it feels like it's filler, like it's just added. It's just like fluff, you know. Um, which is how I saw this arc of the of season 5. But I guess I don't know. Is that I don't know if that's a popular, if that's like if that's the widely accepted definition based on the comment section. It certainly seems to be, but that's besides the point. Um, as for like um introducing, it's really funny that I made that video like literally the week before this episode comes out because this is where like the plot really starts happening. And I say I think that's a I think that's a generous statement personally. I'd say that like a lot of the criticisms that I had of the first half of this season of like what we've gotten so far still apply to like this episode, and I'm not surprised at like what's happening. Kind of the whole tone of that video was of like tampering expectations for like the rest of the show, and I'm still my expectations are still and not low again. I still like I don't dislike this show. I still think it's fine. It's just uh are class B really going to be important? Maybe. I'm sure definitely brainwashy boy. I'm terrible with names, so you're just going to have to deal with that. I've always been bad with names. Brainwashy boy is obviously going to be important because he's in the OP, and like probably copy quirk boy is going to be important, and maybe like a couple other people from class 1B. But like am I really good? Like, is the drill guy, the guy who did the drills, is the guy who's literally just Scyther from Pokemon, is like 90% of these characters that we got introduced to or reintroduced to that I don't remember because maybe I got introduced to them earlier and I just don't remember because they're like they're cool, you know? I think that it has like cool powers and that kind of thing, but I seriously doubt like in the past we'd kind of get we'd get introduced to like the big three, you know, and it's like we only got introduced to three of them, and it was done like relatively succinctly, and we got to see their like individual powers, and even like and like each of them, even the fucking like Pulse girl, the girl with gigantic blue hair or whatever. Even she was kind of like not super like developed, and then the food eaty guy was like I remember he had a memorable personality, but like it was mainly focal. But like the focal point of like that past arc was really on the guy who looks like Lucas from Mother. Again, I'm telling you, I'm terrible with names. Um, but like it felt more focused, and even season 4 I thought slow, and it seemed like community consensus was that like season 4 kind of slowed down, and I agreed with that, but still good, whatever. This is like still a good show. It's not a bad show or whatever. I'm just like voicing kind of my disappointments of like where I wish it would be going. But like overall, I think that in retrospect, a lot of people are gonna look at like my video and just say that oh well, I was being stupid because the plot was gonna kickstart like right when I made the video. And like the thing is that like I really had the sentiments of this video since long like pretty much like by season episode episode like 3 or 4 was really when I started to think, oh wow, this is just kind of reintroduce. When we started getting when we got title cards for all the characters that we already knew, it's like, okay, I see what this is for. You know, like the like a main thing that I brought up was that like I'm really feeling that the show is catering towards people who aren't, I don't want to say aren't paying attention, but like people who haven't seen the entire show. You know, people who are jumping in right at this season, or people who just have it on in the background just because it's a ridiculously popular show. They're trying to appeal to as many people as possible and make it immediately like understandable, as immediately understandable as possible. And so, and I still think that's the case. You know, like because even in this episode alone, we had like probably like 3 minutes of Deku and Uraraka individually like like doing their backstories, you know, even though like they're main characters. And it's like, I guess we learned that we already knew kind of we already knew what both of their motivations were. And I guess we kind of learned that like Uraraka, she also does hero work because she likes to make people smile. She likes to make people feel good. Like, I already assumed that. I feel like that's kind of assumed from all of the heroes. And like, what was really neat about her, like specifically, was that she was like, yeah, I'm doing it for money. Like it was a real wholesome, it's like, oh, you're doing it for money, that's cheap. But she was like, no, I actually love my family, hell yeah. And it was great. But like, I don't know, man. Plot is definitely happening. This was a more interesting episode, definitely. Um, though I must wonder, why is it that it couldn't have happened earlier? You know, like there's no reason that Tornado, whatever, the apprentice, there's no reason that he couldn't have like called in an earlier episode, and he could have been like, oh, it's starting. Like as vague and anime dialogue as that is, it's like that could have happened at any earlier part. Like the information that we got in this episode, this is kind of a sentiment that I wish I expressed in my video. A lot of people were saying that because this is like what happened in the manga, it's like, oh, of course it would be like this in the anime, and therefore it's like immune to criticism that like it would be this way. But I think that obviously, me coming from a perspective of somebody who only watches anime, I really like I'm a lot more focused on the like quality of the I consider the anime and the manga two separate canons, and I'm like completely okay with like making creative differences, making like taking creative liberties when adapting the manga into the anime, if it's for the purposes of making the anime better. And in this case, like I think that, you know, if the manga is like exactly what happened here, then I think that this would be a weak point in the manga, because like it really like slows down. It starts introducing us to characters that I don't think are going to be important, and that I don't think like warranted 9 episodes. I got 7 episodes of like seven. I'll be generous and say like 7 episodes of like the battle anime, of the battle like arc, which still, you know, I hate to be a negative Nancy, but again, like, you know, no stakes. It's all like Deku's quirk goes completely out of control in this episode, and it's for a second it's like, oh, maybe people are gonna get hurt by it or whatever, and like that was pretty cool. But then after they get it settled down, he's just like, they just keep the fight going. Um Eraserhead is like, let's just see what happens. He's like, at the end of the episode, he's just like, let's just see how this plays out, which is like obviously code for just like, we want to see the rest of this battle because it would be unsatisfying if we didn't. Even though like All Might is like, hey, we should probably stop this. Like he might have hurt. He could actually like do some damage or whatever. Like he could actually hit, like he's not in control of his quirk. And then the moment that like they get him under control, he doesn't even get himself under control. They have to use the brainwashing, and it's like the moment that like that happens, they're like, oh, okay, well that's not gonna happen again. Like surely this like new thing that nobody's ever heard of before, it's just like it's not gonna happen again. It's like obviously from a narrative standpoint, it's not gonna happen again. Like he's gonna be under control for the rest of the battle, but like from a diegetic like in-universe standpoint, it's like, does Eraserhead's like, he doesn't even give a reason. He doesn't even give a reason. He says like he just says like we'll continue the fifth match. He just says like they're like what should we do, Eraser? And he says, hang on. He says All Might, let's wait and see a bit. And then he goes, Aizawa, what? We'll continue the fifth match. And like that's the end of it. It's like I guess he's just curious. Am I to assume? Like I guess we'll find out. I mean, maybe we'll find out that he had some other motive next episode. But like I'd like to know that now. And it's like it feels like it feels it's weird because it feels like the show is just like okay now it's time for the plot to happen and so like things start happening like contrivances and it's like copyhead boy or whatever just gets like he's always been like an egging on character but he's just like so like he gets like it's like to an extreme that feels a little out of character and it's like okay this is obviously like and then it becomes obvious like oh that was just to piss Deku off and it's like he didn't know that that would happen so like I'm being pedantic I know but like I think the big thing with this is that like these kinds of nitpicks would kind of wash over me, and not really matter much, if we were kind of moving at a faster pace and yada yada yada. But I think what really does it for me is the fact that like this kind of stuff, if the show was going to like kind of push the logic in such a way that like in order to make the plot happen why couldn't we have just pushed it earlier you know like why couldn't we have done some creative liberties in adapting the manga and maybe like melded these two arcs kind of together into one you know like I don't see any particular reason why we needed a breather arc I feel like we definitely I feel like this one being slower does not contribute anything of substance like in terms of like pacing um I don't know I guess just like I'm glad it's kind of picking up but like expectations are still like I'm keeping my high hopes low expectations that's my mantra that's what I stick to like with basically everything and even still again like I'm sure this show has a bunch of amazing moments ahead of it and even if it like blows my socks off in the next arc which like everyone in the comments is saying oh yeah it's going to be amazing or whatever but like people say that about manga adaptations all the time um I still feel like I'm going to be left with like the feeling of why was the first half of the season like this you know like why did I have to wait 9 weeks before the story that I wanted actually started up you know I guess I'm just an asshole I guess I'm just part of the problem I guess I'm just pedantic and a total pleb because I don't read manga. There's a huge segment of a video I'm working on right now that goes into detail about the manga shit. So don't worry, I'll be following up on that point. So hold your fucking horses. I'm so terrible, aren't I?